All right, everyone, and welcome to another brief Q&A session about Argentina. I'm joined today by Citizen Remote's immigration team in Argentina, Gina Di Benedetto. Very excited, Gina, to have you come join us. I know I just saw you drinking, I believe your yerba mate. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So that, among many things in Argentina, beautiful place. You know, rivers,
Mhm.
hiking, waterfalls. I think the
Mhm.
Patagonia regions over there, Buenos Aires. It's a very beautiful place. So hopefully, this will be an informative discussion that we can kind of help people who want to relocate over there utilize our services. And I know that the digital nomad visa doesn't necessarily exist as other digital nomad visas exist. So there is no specific Argentina digital nomad visa. So maybe you can kind of just let us know what type of remote workers can utilize, visas in Argentina to relocate over there.
Okay, great. Well, digital nomad visa actually does exist in Argentina, but it's limited to those nationals from countries that are not required to have a visa, a tourist visa, to come to Argentina. So, for example, there are some countries that are required to come to Argentina with a tourist visa, and those are not eligible for a digital nomad visa. The ones that are can process the application from the consulate abroad on their home countries, or they can come to Argentina and process it here. It lasts for about 6 months. The government gives you a package when you arrive to the airport. So you can have your SUBE, that it's the card that allows you to use the public transport. And also they give you a brief of the city where you're at, where to go, some maps, some lodging suggestions, some discounts, etc. So you come here, you work remotely for any company that is outside of the US, and you can stay up to 6 months. And last month I renewed like a bunch of them because they really love the country, so they stayed the 6 month extension also. So it's up to 12 months, and you can stay here tax free. Argentina is not going to charge you for any taxes while you're here, and you are VAT exempt. Here it's
Oh, wow.
called IVA, while you purchase here under your digital nomad visa.
Okay. Wow. I did not know that. So there is the 6 months and then the option to extend for another six. And then that's the
Mhm.
end of it, correct? You're not able, is there another way you can apply for another visa category or is there?
Yes, you can. You should return to your home country, or like at least trespass the territory from Argentina to other country,
Hmm.
and later come here and apply to a temporary residency or a permanent residency, depending on your status and your case. But temporary residency is has many subcategories and allows you, if you are Mercosur, to stay in Argentina for 2 years, and if you are extra Mercosur, to stay in Argentina for up to 3 years until you apply to a permanent residency. The process is pretty standard. You get the paperwork, you hire an attorney at law that assists you on which subcategory you fall in. You can come here in a student category, let's say a worker category because you were hired by an Argentinian company. You can come here for medical reasons, research, athlete, scientist. There are many, many reasons that you can apply to this visa. And you basically stay here during the term of your application. And if you are Mercosur and stay under a temporary residency for 2 years, you can apply for permanent residency. And if you are extra, after 3 years, you can apply for permanent residency.
Okay. And then those two words that you keep saying, and I don't want to butcher the pronunciation. Can you maybe elaborate on what those were? It was like MRSA or extra or something.
Oh, yeah, sure. Mercosur is a treaty that Argentina has with all the countries that are surrounding, with Chile, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, and those are considered Mercosur. We have a bilateral treaty, so it goes both ways. If an
Hmm.
Argentinian goes to Uruguay, it has the same treatment immigration wise as a Uruguayan that comes to Argentina. So that's why they have less required time in the country to apply to a permanent residency
Okay.
than extra Mercosur, that would be any other country other than what I just named.
Okay, perfect. Thank you,
Mhm.
because I was confused for a bit on what those that terminology was. So, and
Mhm.
I know you mentioned a few different job categories in which people might be eligible for that visa that allow you temporary residence to stay there
Mhm.
for 2 to 3 years.
Mhm.
Are there any job categories in which a self-employed entrepreneur freelancer might be eligible for off the top of your head, or is that going to be kind of more strictly for the unique, high education jobs like a doctor or something like that, as you mentioned?
It would be difficult to have a visa approved for an entrepreneur because that would fall under a rentista or an investor visa, depending on the project of the client. But those visas are really rarely approved these
Hmm.
days. Like all over the past 20 years, a rentista residency has been approved like 30 times.
Oh wow.
30. Yeah.
Okay, that's not very
So
many. It's
yeah,
not very
it's
many.
not very popular with immigration officers. So I would recommend to come here with a student visa, research visa, scientist, athlete, worker. There are several subcategories.
Hmm.
There's also pensionado. That's when you retire, let's say abroad, or you
Yep.
receive a pension from the government where you live at, which is also kind of tricky to have it approved by an officer.
Hmm.
So usually, what I do is to adjust the category. You can come and apply with, let's say, a rentista, and then I will adjust it to
Okay.
one that falls into the client's case and fits, and also will be more likely to be approved.
Okay. Well, wonderful. So obviously, there are pathways, is what it sounds like, but they might be more complex. So it's always good to kind of get assistance with that. Um,
Mhm.
so kind of shifting back to the digital nomad visa, that's obviously awarded for that 6 months and then an additional 12 months. Is there any like income requirements that you might need to prove, or job requirements that you need to show that yes, I have a job, or is it more income saving based?
No, you should prove that with a letter from your employer abroad that you are currently employed and that you will be employed during the term that you are in Argentina.
Perfect.
So
And
you need
then
to prove that you are working for an enterprise or an individual abroad.
okay. And then that income saving, I think it's around like 800, or is it more than that a month?
Well, it shifts. It's because it's based on the minimum wage here in Argentina, and our currency is very unstable. So it would depend at the time. I would say it's $1,000
Okay.
today.
So 1,000. It's always better to probably have a little bit more. So like
Yeah,
1,000, 1,500
yeah.
at least is
I
probably.
prefer to round it up because if not, you may get a rejection that is unnecessary.
Mhm.
So.
Absolutely. And then I know you mentioned nationalities. You said
Mhm,
that there's a tourist, non-tourist visa. So is this open
mhm,
to most nationalities like U.S., U.K., Europe? Is that
mhm.
is that correct then?
Yes, this kind of visa is open for the US, Canada, UK, Mexico, some countries from Asia, but not all of them. And it's also available foreigners, nationals of Australia, New Zealand, and
Anyone in
I will
Europe?
go back
Europe?
to there.
Yeah.
Europe, generally, in general, yes. There
Okay.
are
And
some specific uh, smaller countries that have this is purely based on a history of immigration, like massive immigrations from certain countries to Argentina in the past made Argentinian government to require those countries to come with a tourist visa.
okay. So if it's Europe, maybe double check first with the team.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Wonderful. And then how long typically does it take for a digital nomad visa to be approved, like that timeline?
Well, usually it takes around 3 months. It depends on the consulate abroad because there are some consulates that are not familiar. This is a really recent law
Hmm.
that came out on 2022, December 2022. So there are some consulates that haven't processed this visa. So it's time consuming, but I need to talk to them, present myself as a legal representative of the client, tell them about the law, show them the paperwork, and later we can process it. But usually it's around 3 months.
Yeah, and it's funny that I have these conversations with a lot of our team internationally, and all of these visas are so new that most
Mhm.
consulates around the world, no matter if it's Argentina to Spain to Italy to Germany, they don't know how to process these visas because they'll
Mhm.
roll them out, they'll approve them, and then the teams like you all are we're left to pick up the pieces on how to kind of implement
Mhm.
those per consulate. So. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, it's
Exactly.
quite. I'm figuring out how normal that is. It sounds, maybe to someone else that it's like, whoa, wow, that's weird that you have to like introduce that new visa category to them,
Mhm.
but it's quite
Yes.
normal.
Well, Argentinians are like that. Argentinian nationals are quite like relaxed, and they don't know much about following step by step,
Hmm.
like perfectly. So yeah, it's normal for us.
Yeah. Wonderful. And then dependents. Are you able to bring? I assume you're not able to bring a boyfriend or girlfriend, but maybe a husband, wife, or a child or something like that on this visa category, or no?
Well, that depends on the officer because it's not clearly stated in the law.
Oh wow.
So you will need an attorney to draft some sort of letter to the immigration authorities to create, like, explain your case
Okay.
and find a way for you to bring a dependent, maybe on a temporary residency category along with you.
Okay. Well, that's really important to know
Yeah,
that.
you need a strategist behind bringing dependents on a digital nomad visa.
Okay. And then in general, would you recommend more so that individuals kind of apply for this, or are you saying that it is something that you've seen be accepted um, often with dependents, or would you say no, no, no?
No,
If
I have processed a digital nomad visa together with a temporary residency for a dependent,
okay.
which is who is a minor, because let's be minors between 1 and 18 months need to go to school, get health care provided, so they need a more stable residency permit,
Hmm.
and also they will need to go to school unless
Yeah.
they are homeschool. That would be different, but here in Argentina, since school is mandatory, that would make things easier.
Okay. All right, wonderful. And then I believe, the only other thing I have is stay requirements. Because we've already touched on taxes. You say that it's tax and VAT free, which sounds amazing for the 6 months, extendable to a year. Stay requirements. I know some visas abroad will, require that you maybe rent the full 6 months or the 12 months ahead of time. Is there anything like that you have to prove that you have an accommodation in Argentina to acquire the visa, or is that not?
Yes, provide proof of. lodging, and proof of if you have anyone that you know here and you're staying at their home, you will have to provide a letter from that person if you don't have a booked reservation and you're staying on a friend's house, let's say.
Okay.
But you
And it
should, mhm, at least
definitely
for a part of your trip.
okay.
It would depend on the case, on the itinerary. It would depend on a lot of things. It's a very detail oriented letter of support that you have to draft
Hmm.
with all the requirements of lodging, itinerary, flight tickets, health insurance, bank savings, etc., for the consular officer to approve your
Yeah.
visa.
Perfect. And
Mhm.
that's why we use someone like you, Gina, is to make sure that all of that's taken care of. Well, this has been absolutely amazing and super helpful, hopefully, to anyone. Obviously, if they're interested in reaching out to you, they can do it through the Citizen Remote app and schedule a consultation directly with you. We know you'd hopefully be able to get them a visa approved. So, um,
Let's hope so. I'm
mhm.
here to help people come and get to know my country, that it's beautiful, and fall in love with it.
Amazing. Gina, thanks so much. Is there anything else that you want to mention, or do you think we covered it all?
I believe we covered it all. You had all the questions really well drafted.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Gina. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Bye.